Chapter 5, I am the resurrection and the life, an Eastern thought. All nature is feeling the approach of a new Easter day, the day of resurrection, a commemoration of the rising from the tomb of our dear Lord and Master Jesus Christ, and a promise of that annual rebirth or coming back into manifestation of the life that was dead and buried in the dark and cold of winter. That ever-recurring and necessary period when the soul of things retires deep within to its source for rest and assimilation and a renewal of power for additional experience. We ask you to realize with us that all humanity is a part of nature, is as much a part as there are trees, the flowers, the grass, and the fruit of the vegetable kingdom. And while seemingly we do not die yearly and give up our bodies, our outer vestments, as do many of the members of the kingdom, yet in reality, in the indrawing of the life so evident there, man, being a part of nature, must be similarly affected, and at least in his feeling or emotional nature, must in very truth enter the dark, cold, dreary state of winter, along with all of that which he is a part, and his soul together with the universal soul go back to its heavenly home, and there renew and restore itself with the life of God, and prepare to come forth with greater vigor and intention to express that life. All can see that life outbreathes itself during the spring season, fills all nature full of itself into the fruitage and harvest season, and then begins to indraw itself during the fall, until in the cold and bleakness of winter it is wholly invisible and unmanifest. Why should man not be as much affected by this outbreathing and inbreathing as any other part of nature? And if he is unconscious of such change going on within himself, is it not because it is so common and natural a change that his attention has never been called to it? Perhaps this will account for the discouragement, the depression, the despair, the seemingly uselessness of living, experienced by so many sensitive ones during the winter month, and it may cause all who read to take a deeper interest in that mysterious life working in their bodies, preparing to unfold itself in the springtime into a new and higher phase of expression. Perhaps it will blossom forth in unison with the flowers of the fields and the Easter lilies, the songs of mating birds, and the joy of all nature of being able to express life freely once more, in some of those who feel the thrill of life's renewal, its rebirth within themselves. Perhaps one here and there may even unfold the wondrous life of the Master within, having been called and chosen by him, and quickened so that the inner world will become as the outer, and that may see as he sees, and knows as he knows. For at each spring equinox, all candidates for initiation into the higher consciousness are brought to their spiritual teachers, who await to see if they are prepared to enter upon the Easter feast of realization, and to take their places in the hall of learning, that wonderful palace of truth within the ethereal realms where all followers of Christ are bidden to come, and all are helped to enter by their teachers. This being the renewing and restoring period life pushes itself forth into larger molds for wider expression, naturally gives opportunity for all those who have cooperated with it and who seek no longer to interfere. Such are approaching discipleship, and at Easter time may blossom forth even as the pure white Easter lilies, fitting symbols of those who have attained their full growth. While we are dealing with and helping to prepare disciples for this great ordeal, do not forget that all is leading up to the far greater initiation, the crucifixion of the lower nature, the death of the self in preparation for its resurrection from the tomb matter as a glorified Christ self. Try to realize fully that this life that all nature is feeling so big within itself is the life of God, that which is and grows all things that have form and life, and there is nothing really dead, for that which is cannot be but alive. And this life of God in manifestation is actually his love, which is both the cause and reason of all being. And his love, as we know, is his Holy Spirit, his beloved Son, the Christ, sent into the world to redeem it and to lift it once more back into oneness with his consciousness. Therefore, the yearly crucifixion and resurrection we see and feel in nature are but to recall to us and definitely to show us what our great exemplar and Master taught by his life and words, that if we would follow him, we must go through the same crucifixion of self to win the resurrection of Christ, must express in our life the fullness of his life within us, which is the life of God, our Father, unfolding us to the same fruitage he manifested in Jesus. I am the resurrection and the life. I am the resurrection and life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. And whosoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die. Believest thou this? John 11:25. In the above words and in the whole of the 11th chapter of John is plainly pictured a mighty truth. We would that we would convey to all who read the absolute verity of Christ's statements in the above lines, and that he says these very words constantly to every true disciple. I am the resurrection, I am the life. He that liveth and believeth in me shall never die. Conceive if you can that this life that is in you, that is living you, is very Christ himself. You know that it is not your life, that you cannot control it, but instead you have to obey it. For it always has its way with you, makes of you, and does with you what it wills. You have not yet learned that it is a loving life, for most of the past you have spent in opposing it, in rebelling against it, and in trying to thwart its purpose for you. But where have you gotten, and what have you accomplished? For all that you did was only that which life had to do in order first to teach you that you yourself can do nothing, and that you might gradually come to realize that this life had benevolent intention for you, and was actually inciting you to such rebellion and opposition in order to build for itself a strong, capable personality, and an intelligent brain-mind which later it could use to fulfill its real purpose, the one it created you for in the first place. It has now brought you to your present state of consciousness. With our help, you are beginning to recognize it as a really wonderful life, for you are learning that the only harmony, the only happiness that comes to you, is when you cooperate with it and accept it for what it is. The only true, wise, powerful, helpful part of you, and acknowledge it as the Master, I as the blessed Christ within. Thus does he, the I am of every man, the life that lives him, teaches man's brain-mind to come to him. He brings to that mind everything it thinks it wants, lets it want everything it can see, lets it try to get all of it for itself, lets it grow strong in wanting and struggling in getting. Then, when strong enough, he takes all away and allows it to suffer and thus burn away all the selfishness acquired in such struggle, leaving only the strength and other soul qualities gained for the purpose he intended them to be used. Then follows the teaching of the mind to know the difference between his will and the self's desire, between his voice and the voice of self when they each speak. So in time the brain-mind, the disciple, learns through striving and failure and suffering to know that he, the Christ within, is the resurrection and the life, and that just as he believes this and lives in that consciousness, he knows that death does not exist and has no reality for him. The path. By this time most of you who read actually know that there is a path, one on which some of you have been traveling for some time, while most are just setting up upon it. We have tried to point out much of what you may expect to meet upon this path, and to explain the meaning and the way of that through which you have been passing. But in order that you may have other authority than ours, we cannot do better than to quote the words of that great disciple H.P. Blavatsky, who brought to the Western world the first definite explanation of the meaning and purpose of the path. There is a road, steep and thorny, beset with perils of every kind, but yet a road, and it leads to the heart of the universe. I can tell you how to find it, those who will show you the secret gateway that leads inward only, and closes behind the neophyte forevermore. There is no danger that dauntless courage cannot conquer. There is no trial that spotless purity cannot pass through. There is no difficulty that strong intellect cannot surmount. For those who win onwards, there is a reward past all telling, the power to bless and save humanity. For those who fail, there are other lives in which success may come. From this you may learn that this road we are traveling to the kingdom is not for weaklings, for those who doubt if they can accomplish it, or who are unwilling to do the necessary work. Nor is it for those to whom the reaching of the goal has not become the supreme desire and purpose of their lives. We have started inwards towards a country traveled consciously by but a few, by which we hope all will learn to know and become thoroughly acquainted within a general way before we have traveled very far therein. We mean the country of the mind, and in the previous chapter we pointed out what was the necessary equipment to help you pass through it intelligently, quickly, and easily. To prepare you for this journey, we have repeatedly sought to show that those who did not strive faithfully and determinedly to discipline and control their mental faculties would find themselves shortly dropping out, because of not being able to keep pace with their better equipped comrades. All this is said, and so often repeated, not to discourage anyone, but with the hope that it will inspire all aspirants not to let anything in their own nature or in the conditions surrounding them prevent their continuing the journey. For their souls intend that they accompany us, the proof being that their hearts sanctioned it when responding to the call of, "Seek ye first the kingdom." So can you not see that what alone will prevent will be the lower animal self prevailing upon the mind with such specious arguments as, "It will be too hard work, will take too much time, and you know you are not ready for it anyway." For those minds which listen to and heed such temptations, it were indeed best that they drop out. But for those who set their teeth together when hearing and recognizing such testing, and grow all the more determined to embrace this opportunity and never to turn back, a reward past all telling of which, the power to save and bless humanity. All such we now ask to turn to the last article in the booklet Brotherhood, entitled The Kingdom of Heaven, and to read and study it thoroughly during the month until you fully understand the different realms of consciousness through which it is necessary to pass on our journey within the heart of the kingdom. This understanding is vitally necessary in order that all may become well acquainted intellectually with the inner planes of being, so that when you enter them consciously or in dreams or visions, you will comprehend the significance of all that you see, and it will not be as if entering a strange country. Healing. Would you heal yourself quickly and perfectly of every inharmony of body, mind, and affairs? Then follow faithfully and continuously the suggestions given below, and such health and harmony will be yours. Realize that it is actually God, I Am, who is living in this body you call your body, who is walking around in it, doing in it what you do, and causing your brain mind to think and your mouth to say what you think and say. For have you any life, any power, any mind, any intelligence of your own apart from his life, his will, his mind? Think, are you anything at all but that he is in you, what you call you? Is he not all that there is of you and in you? For you know he is all in all. Grasp the full significance of this great truth, and it will enable you with all our help to see and be that which we have said already you are, whole and perfect, as all expression of God are whole and perfect. We have just shown you a very wonderful truth, but what are you going to do with it? Many truths have you learned with your brain mind in the past, but of what use are they to you? In fact, your brain mind is stuffed with such truth, and you are soul sick because seemingly you cannot make any practical use of them, as can the few exceptional souls that you know who have used them. Above we said if you would grasp the full significance of what we have told with our help, you could see and be that which you already are. For without help seemingly you will do nothing. Therefore we tell you to realize this very moment that it is not you but God living in your body. Stop. Hold your mind to that one thought. Hold it to the exclusion of every other thing. For it is the one great reality of your being. Hold it until it fills your consciousness, until it is your consciousness. Every moment that you make, realize that he is doing it. Every word that you speak, let him say it. Every thought that comes, let him handle it, point out its meaning and purpose and direct its use. Just know that God and God alone will do all, is doing all. He must be doing it, for he is all in all. There is no one else. Hold to it. Do not let any of the old thoughts, those of self and separateness, approach. Hold fast to the truth. No matter what comes, hold to it. Be faithful. Let there be no slightest wavering. Just know that he is doing it, that he is the I of you, the only I, the only self. Let go of your mind, of yourself, of all sense of responsibility, and just rest in the consciousness that he is doing it all, that his love, which is his life, must express him, must be I Am in you. We have told you now how. We have given you the help promised. That is all we can do. You must do the rest. You must now use this knowledge so freely given if you would be free. All that your soul is seeking awaits your accepting and using. Oh, dear one, we have led you back to your Father's house, back to God. Awake, open your eyes, see, know, act now. All who practice faithfully the above suggestions will receive a blessing beyond their present comprehension, and for which they will be so grateful that they will want all their friends who are ready to enjoy the same blessing. For therein is shown the way to the highest, and therefore the most effective spiritual healing. This will help also. Go about your daily work imagining, actually feeling God's life in you, freeing you, vitalizing you, permeating to the center of every cell and atom of your body, driving out all former separative consciousness, as light drives out darkness, and then possessing, being you, and expressing and radiating from you as health, vitality, power, love. See this, feel it actually taking place. Go about it in that consciousness. If there is pain, inharmony, or disease in any part of the body, just know that God's life, His consciousness, His love is there. Not what you had previously thought was there. Just know this truth and watch the pain, inharmony, or disease disappear. Spiritual growth. We receive many letters from students who tell of long years of seeking in different movements and teachings, that in this work they were finally found what they missed in all others, the loving, impersonal teaching of the Christ, and given so clearly and simply that all may understand, and which their own higher selves had been trying to tell them, but which, because of the purely intellectual concepts with which their minds had been filled, they had not been able to understand clearly, and therefore to translate into tangible form for meditation and putting to actual use. Does this not prove that no teachings coming from without is for you unless it thus confirms what you already half consciously know within? If so, do not let anything else intrigue you and get you involved in it because of its mystery or its tone of authority. There is only one teacher for you, and it is on his authority alone we would have you rely. Hence, by listening to and following only those teachings that turn you always within to him for his approval, when in doubt will you gradually but surely learn to know his voice and his will for you with certainty, as you determinedly strive to give over to him all your old ideas and desires, so that they no longer interfere. On the other hand, others write to us to say that they enjoy the teaching, but they cannot find much time to study and meditate and do the exercise suggested. These undoubtedly feel in their hearts that there is much of real value awaiting them when they can compel their minds to take advantage of the opportunity thus afforded. But will they ever do it? Such evidently are not yet ready, are not really in earnest about finding the kingdom. There is too much without that is still interesting, and holding them back from their soul's desire. We mention these things in order to let you see the different stages on the path of the various seekers. Some of you who read, perhaps, may recognize yourselves among those mentioned. But know that everyone goes through all these stages and eventually arrives at that deeply in earnest stage of discipleship. Many wonder what is spiritual growth. Wherein is it different from the so-called intellectual apprehension of truth, and also what causes such growth? That is rather hard to understand, for the greatest growth is not when the personality is striving the hardest, but when it is suffering the most. Even as all vegetation grows fastest during the night time, so in the dark and troublous periods of life the soul grows the fastest, because during these periods the mind turns inward and comes closer to the spiritual forces moving and controlling the soul, and thereby unconsciously cooperates with them, instead of, as in the bright, smooth-sailing periods, hindering them by selfishly choosing only the pleasant path of life. When one has learned truly to cooperate with life and nature, a definite and highly important point on the path has been reached, but before reaching that place, many hard lessons have to be learned. One must pay for wisdom. One of the most important lessons to be learned is that life requires one to pay for every lesson it teaches. It plays no favorites, and no one can gain wisdom without paying dearly for it. We are speaking of soul knowledge, which alone is wisdom, not of the intellectual knowledge that one can get from books and from teachers. Such wisdom comes only from hard, persistent effort, forced by determination to gain it no matter what the cost. Such are the efforts of a real disciple. They gain wisdom, for they gladly pay the price. Strange to say, however, there are many who yearn to serve and to become disciples, even think to find the kingdom, who seek and accept instructions, such as find herein, which their hearts tell them are filled with deep wisdom, yet back in their minds they hope they may not be called upon to pay, either in money, which is the least and easiest thing they can pay, or in the sustained effort of definite mental work, which they certainly not only will be asked to, but will be constantly pressed to pay if they continue on their quest with us. In spiritual matters, as one receives, so one must give. One cannot get anything for nothing, but must pay one way or another. A constant receiving without giving is like a pitcher that has become full. No more fresh water can be added until some has been poured out. Yet some wonder why they have gotten nowhere after years of seeking and studying. It is chiefly because they do not give out and apply what they have learned, are always wanting to get, and are never interested in giving or using what they have received. We have gone to these pains to point out the law in order to show you that we have now reached the place where every aspirant should determine for himself if he is really prepared to travel further on this journey. We mean that if curiosity or just causal interest has caused you to stay with us this far, there should be a definite study made of yourself to see if you are willing to pay the full price of discipleship, and if you are sure you truly belong in this, the Master's work. All who do belong in this cause understand the importance of this requirement and gladly show that they do, for at heart they are his disciples, and their souls compel them to respond, even if their minds do not yet fully recognize what it all means. It is by such response that we learn to know our brothers, those whom he has called to follow him, who hear his loving voice within and never hesitate and are always eager to obey. With these, we are always in close touch. End of chapter.